scientist.
Suffice it that the blood of 1,000 men and women was spilled within these walls. Limbs twisted and broken, eyes gouged from bloody sockets, flesh burned black.
Please. You await the dead. In death, there are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and no escapes. What you have to realize is that we're all just a mouse that a cat has by the tail.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
Warning, the following show contains conservative posturing, radical Christian ideas, and may offend pagans, Wiccans, Islamic fundamentalists, and other unenlightened individuals. Callers and guests may be subjected to brash and offensive comments by the hosts and any other type of bullying tactics available. But that's okay. We know why you're here.
This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system.
Tonight is Monday, February 11th, 2008.
What's up, guys? Well, that was a close save.
Yeah, it was.
For those of you that can hear us, we're having some problems with some of our streaming affiliates right now. So some of you can hear us, not all. But anyway, this is j.scott.
This is Trey Lackey. Welcome to
World of the Unexplained.
Woe to.
We're like the Beastie Boys.
I can't stand it. I know you planned it. I'm going to set it straight, your Watergate. I'm sorry.
Alrighty.
Put your root down. Put your foot down. I'm sorry. Okay, now, you set me off there, Scott, with the whole Beastie Boys thing.
I'm sorry, man.
I don't really even know Beastie Boy lyrics, but, I'm not even a hip-hop kind of a person.
I know.
At all. At all. But you know what? Did you guys see the Grammys last night? Anybody see the Grammys?
People actually watch those?
Missed it last night.
Well, you know what?
Who was the big winner?
Amy Winehouse won a lot of stuff,
That doesn't surprise me.
which is really funny because she's been denied her visa in the United States because of her drug problems.
But she did a performance, right?
Yeah, but it was via satellite.
Right.
But yeah, she can't come into the United States, but the American Association of Recording Artists, or whoever sponsors the Grammys, basically said that she was good enough, and she's a pretty good. Yeah, she's a pretty good singer. I gotta give her that.
What is the song she's famous for? I'm trying to make it to rehab or
rehab
or something. I say no.
Yeah, it's funny.
And she just got popped for crack cocaine possession.
Yeah,
and there's a videotape of her out there doing crack cocaine,
smoking crack, and and yet her song about rehab and her drug problem has gotten her so much popularity. I think it's hilarious. But I got to tell you this, speaking of hip hop, I saw the Kanye West performance, and it was crazy. And it wasn't really the song necessarily or the music. I mean, I guess he's okay for hip hop.
It was a huge production, wasn't it?
It was crazy. I mean, okay, it was all blacked out except for him, and he had these sunglasses on that glue like LED lights, and they're like glowing in the dark with this digital suit. That's all I can describe it as. It was actually blipping as he was doing his act, and I thought it was the most awesome coat jacket ever. And it probably cost. I'm serious. It was a coat jacket, and it was like blipping.
That's probably $10,000. Honestly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's probably cost him about $10,000.
I'm sure the Grammys picked it up though. Costume charges. Yeah.
But I thought
that's probably not part of his wardrobe.
No, or maybe
it probably was a $10,000 coat.
It probably because it blipped. It literally digital lights sort of randomly came up and down.
Like Bono said, what's the lyric? Your jacket of lights or something like that. Suit of lights.
You can keep this Technicolor dream.
You can keep this suit of lights, but
I'm up
on
with the
skill.
Yeah.
I'm not coming down. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
but I mean that's totally it. And Kanye West had this performance, and then there are these weird silhouetted robot-looking people, pressing buttons for the robotic.
I didn't know anybody still watched the Grammys.
I just look. Generally speaking, Scott, I thought it was There was nothing. There were no artists on there I was really even interested in. But I mean,
Gotcha.
you know, all these performances. Like I said, that one in particular with a robo digital bleep suit. You know, and that was crazy. And the sunglasses, awesome. I want a pair, but I don't have like the 20 grand to spot for them.
I hear you.
You know, so I could walk around at night and just be my eyes for illuminating things. You know, like a big LED light.
All right, well, tonight, to change topics drastically, there's no segue there.
Well, it's about robots.
Tonight we have this has nothing to do with robots, man.
What?
This is the
Okay,
new
right.
the new nonfiction book by L.A. Marzulli. It's called Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural, The
All
Coming
right.
Great Deception, and the Luciferic Endgame. So you know he's my kind of guy already. So
Luciferic Endgame.
Let's bring him on. Mr. Marzulli, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
We're doing great.
Fantastic.
Other than this crap I have to hear about the Grammys, I just can't hear
Look, it was just
anymore.
a suit, all right? I don't watch the Grammys. I haven't watched them in like 10 years, but
I haven't either.
just-
Honestly, I didn't know that it used to be such a big event, and now it
Yeah.
seems like it's...
I
Anyway.
was dismayed watching Aretha.
I'm sorry?
I was dismayed when Aretha came on. The
yeah.
presentation was amazing, but she doesn't look good.
No, she doesn't. I was a little shocked when I saw her, too. But that was weird. There was a whole gospel number on the Grammys, too.
Really?
It was amazing. The gospel number was, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, and that genre of music was
Yeah,
incredible.
on the Grammys, you know, I mean, I really found that kind of shocking, but it was great. But yeah, she did. It surprised me when I saw her like that.
Now, what should I call you, Mr. Marzulli? What,
Call me Lynn.
Lynn, okay.
Okay.
I didn't know what the L stood for. I remember we talked.
Lynn Anthony.
Lynn Anthony, okay. So we
All
just...
right.
Lynn, we'll go with that. Lynn, I see that Tom Horn has given you a really good blurb here. The compelling storyteller whose Nephilim trilogy set the bar for intrigue, suspense, and revelation is back, but this time best-selling author L.A. Marzulli is not talking fiction. And that makes this book the scariest end-time shocker of all. Hold on to your hat, folks. It looks like things are going to get wild. And we've had Tom on, 2 or 3 times. Mm-hmm. And Tom Horn is just a wonderful guest, really good insight there. And I just think for somebody like Tom to give you such kudos, it must be a wonderful book.
Well, I appreciate it. Tom's a good friend, and in fact, it's his publishing house that helped get the book where it is.
Oh, Anomalous. Okay.
Yeah, it's the same publishing house. So that's what that's about. But he's a great guy, and he's certainly very erudite in his field and knows of what he speaks and has traveled in it as long as I have, and I think brings a different perspective. There's about a dozen of us that kind of found each other about 10 years ago, realizing that we were taking different parts of the same puzzle, so to speak, and working on different aspects of it. My Nephilim trilogy was really one of the first, if not the first, fictionalized account of Genesis 6. And, obviously it's a trilogy, 3 books, about 1,200 pages and stuff, and it's based on lots and lots of research. What I found problematic for me was many readers did not want to read fiction. They want to read nonfiction works, and so that was the sort of the impetus, the genesis, if I can use that word, to write Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural. It's based on almost 30 years of ongoing research, and it's got a lot of interviews with different people. It's quoting a lot of books. There's 25 pages of footnotes at the end, so it's 25 pages of footnotes. So it's well researched and well documented. And if you don't take my word for it, look up the footnotes and see where I'm drawing some of the conclusions from.
Right.
But that's kind of the nexus of the thing.
Well, give us, now we've had Terry James on as well, and I'm sure you know him.
Can I interrupt you? Is there
Sure.
any way you can guys get louder in my headpiece? I got my volume all the way cranked, and I
Okay.
hear you, but you're a little back.
Okay, we'll work on it.
Chuck's working on it right now. But, we've had Terry James on, and I know he does a lot of fiction work based along the same Genesis 6 kind of idea. What is, kind of give us a tour of your book?
Well, basically, there's a quote that I constantly refer to and bring the reader back once I establish the quote. And the quote is, the present political landscape is in direct correlation to supernatural events that happened, in some cases, millennia ago. And it's a mouthful, and it's kind of, you got to hear it a couple of times before you get your head around it. I'll say it one more time. The present political landscape is in direct correlation to supernatural events that happened, in some cases, millennia ago. Here's a couple of case in points for you.
we are, and I've had a very heated debate with another talk show host, but basically...
Wait a minute. Who was the talk show host?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, we want to know.
I'll tell you off the air.
Okay, that'll work.
I almost hung up on him, and he almost nuked me. That's how bad it got.
Wow, okay.
And the point was, I believe that this country might not be, you consider it, well, let's put it this way. This country is a Christian nation. For all practical purposes, 85 or more % of the people in America consider themselves Christians. Now, it's not a theocracy. I'm not calling it that. But the basic worldview of most people in this country is a Christian worldview, all right? That's pretty much what it is. You could make an argument that the Founding Fathers, yes, there were Masons, but the overall view, the overall worldview that helped establish this country was certainly that of Judeo-Christian thought.
Sure.
Period. I mean, I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, we can agree on that.
Yeah.
And to think about, to take it a step further, we celebrate, and this is where the supernatural comes in. The present political landscape is in direct correlation to the supernatural. Okay, we are here in America with our particular worldview, which is a Christian worldview, but it's based on supernatural events that happened a couple of millennia ago, 2,000 years ago. Case in point, we celebrate Christmas. We celebrate the virgin birth of the God-man, Yeshua, or Jesus. Several months later, we celebrate the same man, but this time, Yeshua, once again, we celebrate the fact that he was crucified, buried in a tomb, and somehow miraculously rose from the dead. These are incredible supernatural events. I mean, and, they're national holidays. Well, Christmas is, Easter isn't. But basically, it's celebrated all through America. And I realize some people don't celebrate Christmas, but for the most part, 85% of the American population do celebrate Christmas, and that's what they believe in. Go to Israel. Modern-day Israel believes, and they have celebrated this for about 4,000 years, in the Passover. What that celebration is, they are recalling to remembrance a supernatural event, i.e. the angel of death that flew over and passed over the houses of the Israelis, or the Israelites, who had the blood of the lamb on the doorposts. So there's a whole thing with the blood, which we won't get into that now unless you want to. But the bottom line is they celebrate that the angel of death passed over them and killed the firstborn of the Egyptians. That's a 4,000-year-old supernatural event. So in let's say states like Iran, in countries like Iran, they're under Sharia law. Sharia law is from the Quran. Quran was written from actually the sayings of Muhammad. It was written down after he passed away. They believe that he's the final prophet, and so this whole civilization that we see, this whole endgame with the jihadists, is based on supernatural events, i.e. Muhammad, and the things that he allegedly or supposedly did while he was alive. So we see that this whole political landscape that we're involved in as we speak, is actually based on supernatural events. And depending on which supernatural events you believe will color and shape your worldview. And that's basically what the book is about. And it talks about the fact that if there are supernatural events that happened in the past, and there's prophecies that were uttered, let's say 2,000, 2,500 years ago, which specifically talk about the times we are living in, are we going to look at a sort of a junction of the political, the supernatural, and the prophetic? Are we going to look at all three merging? Are we in the time period where the three are going to merge? And of course, in my book, I lay it out very succinctly why I believe we are in this window of time where we're going to see the supernatural fulfill the prophetic, and all because of what the political is doing. It's going to be very strange.
So it's
pretty heavy, yeah. But
I'm assuming that you feel that our involvement right now in the Middle East is part of the breaking point of this.
Good question. Let me put it to you this way: when we went into Afghanistan, let me see. How should I start this? Let me back up. This could take a little bit of time. It depends on how deep you want to go. There's a thing called the Hegelian Dialectic. Hegel was a German philosopher in the latter part of the 19th century.
Right.
Hegelian dialectic is simply this: conflict, counter-conflict, synthesis. It's manipulated by powers that be. They create a conflict, which produces a counter-conflict, and they create from that creates a synthesis of the conflict and the counter-conflict, and it steers a population of people, a world, events, whatever, in the direction that the people who are setting this thing up want it to go. I believe in a Luciferian dialectic. I think things are being manipulated by Luciferians, people who embrace, for all practical purposes, let's call it the dark side, and that's an understatement. And what that would be is the conflict would be 9/11. Certainly, we all agree that 9/11 is a conflict. Now, you can, and this is where the whole conspiracy thing just cracks me up, because all these guys are ranting and raving. Fine, there's a conspiracy. But it's not the conspiracy that most people think. It's a Luciferian conspiracy. It doesn't matter if you can trace it back to George W., then he's on the inside to something greater. And frankly, I honestly believe that Bush had no clue as to what was going on.
I think he's too stupid.
In general, that's
just my opinion.
In general,
and I'm a Republican, but I think he's too stupid to know. That's my thing.
Anyway.
So if he did or he didn't, for the sake of the argument, this is leg one. We have the conflict. The counter-conflict is we go into Afghanistan. That's the counter-conflict. And then we do this really weird thing. We go into Iraq. What the heck? And now remember, Saddam did attack Kuwait. There's a lot of oil there. The guy's a wild card. No doubt about it. He already proved it to the world. The guy's a nutcase. So we can at least agree that throwing live human beings into wood chippers is off the hook.
Probably a bad idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Okay. But here's what's weird. Last year in 2007 was the largest opium harvest in 5 years in Afghanistan. Follow the money. Who profited and why? And how come they weren't napalmed? How come we didn't napalm those fields? Why did we let it slide?
Well, yeah, obviously the drug trade in Afghanistan funds the terrorists, basically. So
who has their hands in all that drug money? The CIA.
And we don't know who's scratching who and why and how and everything else. We only know that the opium crop in 2007 was a bumper crop. But here's what's weird, and here's what's really, and this is why I travel in this whole idea of Luciferian conspiracies. Oh, great, we're getting a little crackling on the lines. Hi, guys.
We're still, hear that? Yeah, we can hear it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's just the government. They're changing the tape.
Hi, guys. How you doing? You must have hit a nerve with this one. The other thing that most people don't look at, unless you're looking at it through the lens of prophecy. And before I talk about that, before I kind of spill the beans about the Iraq thing and what that prophecy is, let me explain what prophecy isn't. Prophecy is not Nostradamus, who has a quaint little quatrain talking about some guy called Hister, and supposedly that somehow translates to Hitler. That's not prophecy. Prophecy is very, very specific, and some of that specificity, it's not up for interpretation. In other words, if it says a certain city, for instance, Babylon, then that's what it's referring to. It's not. You're not scrambling the letters to make another name out of it. Or it's not, Babylon, New York. It's the ancient city of
Babylon. Yeah.
So
all that to say, in Iraq, I should say, is the ancient city of Babylon, and prophecy says that city is going to be rebuilt in the latter days. And I find it interesting that Saddam spent almost $1 billion, this is 20 years ago, for the restoration of Babylon.
Oh, yeah, he wanted to be part of that.
Yeah, he wanted to be the reincarnation of King Nebuchadnezzar or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is what I mean by a Luciferian dialectic. We have conflict, which is 9/11, the counter-conflict, the Gulf War, right, or not the Gulf War, the attack in Afghanistan, followed by the war in Iraq. Here's the synthesis, which I believe is going to happen, and it all hinges around the King of Jordan. And if all these things happen, then we have witnessed a Luciferian dialectic. Now
wait, let me stop you just a second, Lynn. We're going to take our bottom of the hour break.
Okay, great.
And we're going to give you 5 minutes here. Hang on with us. We're going to open up the phone lines too when we get back. 877-722-7382. That's 877-SCARE-U2 or locally 336-996-1596. You're listening to World of the Unexplained. Tonight the guest is Lynn Marzulli, and you can call as soon as we come back from the break. You're listening to World of the Unexplained. We'll be back in just a second.
This is Woe 2. Tonight we got Lynn Marzulli on. The phone lines are now open. 1-877-722-7382 or locally 336-996-1596.
For those of you dialing impaired people, 877-SCARE, SCARE, the letter U and the number 2.
That's right.
Like you're scaring the band U2. All right.
What do you mean, man?
We're scaring you too, man.
Horrible Bono accent. Okay,
Lynn, you were talking about you were starting to get into something with us, Lynn.
Thesis, antithesis, synthesis, basically.
Well, the whole idea of a Luciferian dialectic would be that there was a very dark, literally satanic power that is in the process of bringing in the one world leader that most people call the Antichrist. And so we started off with the conflict being 9/11, the counter-conflict being Afghanistan and Iraq, and the synthesis might be this. Now, this is a long shot. So, I'm just saying this is a theory, one of many, but it's a workable theory. The Hashemite kingdom of Jordan is presently ruled by King Abdullah II. Hashem is the uncle of Mohammed, hence the name Hashemite. So the Hashemite kingdom has direct ascendancy from the throne of Muhammad. They can trace their lineage back literally 1,300 years to the bloodline of Muhammad, to their blood relatives. So they hold great sway in the Muslim world, 1. 2, the nation of Iraq 50, 60 years ago, before the Ba'ath Party came in a coup and deposed the last king of Iraq. The last king of Iraq was literally another Hashemite. And when that coup happened, the Hashemites fled to Jordan and established their throne and their kingdom in Jordan. So the real king, the real ruler of Iraq, is none other than King Abdullah of Jordan. His real homeland is not Jordan, it's Iraq. Get it? Iraq is split into 3 parts right now. Kurds in the north, Sunnis and Shia. It's been going on for 1,300 years. The king of Jordan could establish peace, and he comes riding in on a white horse, establishes peace in Iraq, because the Maliki government, once we pull out of there, all hell's going to break loose. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
They need a strong man. The other thing, and you need to know where to look, it was off the record, but allegedly the king of Jordan had declared that if any type of a treaty with Israel, he was willing to grant the 90,000 Palestinian refugees presently living in Jordan full Jordanian citizenship. So here's the scenario. The king of Jordan comes riding in and takes over the southern part of Iraq from Baghdad down, but instead of making his capital in Baghdad, he makes it in Babylon, and he restores the ancient city. And that's a huge if. But let's say he does all that. The next thing he does is he solves the 60-year-old conundrum in the Middle East, i.e. Israel and the Palestinians and the refugee problem. What do I do? And he annexes the northern part of Jordan and creates a Palestinian state. The third thing he does, and if he does this, if he really does the third one, then he can be none other than the Antichrist. That means that right now he's not the Antichrist because that spirit is not in him. Understand? But when he does the third thing, it will be in him. And that is to allow the Jews to rebuild the temple, their third temple, on the existing Temple Mount in the city of Jerusalem. That's prophetic. It will happen. It's written over, the prophecy is about 2,000 years old that talks about, and there's another prophecy that dovetails into it that's 2,500 years old, which talks about in the latter days, in the end times, this temple will be built on the Temple Mount. And if he does all these 3 things, in my opinion, he's the Antichrist. And if these things begin to happen, we have literally witnessed a classic Luciferian dialectic. And this is, of course, what the end game is. And that's what my book talks about.
Wow. That's pretty interesting. I don't think I've heard that angle proposed before.
Go ahead, Chuck.
I was just wondering, offhand.
Chuck's the agnostic, by the way, so don't let him give you too much stuff.
You think that King Abdullah is going to be able to bring all this together over there, to fulfill those 3 different outcomes you just stated? Really?
Well, what's interesting, and do this, on your own. Go to YouTube and Google King Abdullah and watch what comes up, and watch where he speaks. And watch what and this is what his buzz is. This is what he always talks to the other Arab nations surrounding him. He says, "What are we going to do after there's peace on the first day of peace? What are we going to do?" So he's already there. Get what I mean? He's already there. He's living there. He's trying to bring everybody else up to speed. And remember, the Antichrist comes riding in on a white horse as a man of peace. That's his deal. And Abdullah is westernized. He's articulate.
No, I agree with you actually, and
that's amazing.
When I read his profile when he took over, I think it was in '98.
Right.
I was extremely impressed, with the fact that he had the Western education. In fact, I was way into the Nostradamus quatrains, which I'm sure won't impress you at all.
No, it doesn't impress any of us here, John.
I'm sure it doesn't. But that he did fit the profile of the third Antichrist and the Nostradamus quatrains as well, which I think is somewhat interesting because the whole mention of the quatrains previously and the disavowing of them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Anyway.
Well, I mean, there's that aspect of legitimacy too, because yes, I think it's pretty much certain that Iraq's going to fall apart, and certain elements are basically going to say, oh, remember way back when there wasn't Saddam Hussein and there wasn't terrorists and there wasn't
the good old days
and we had a king, like a real king. Where is that king? And then once again, King Abdullah, like you're saying, Len, he's got legitimacy because he has direct ascendancy, and he can use that as sort of like a playing piece to step in there, at least with a certain faction.
Well, it definitely can happen, and there's another part of the book which I like to touch on briefly, and I'm not sure the actual chronology of this thing, okay, and how it comes down and what we're looking at. I don't know the exact chronology, but there's another prophecy which talks about these. For instance, it's actually in the book of Ezekiel 38 and 39, and other people have certainly talked about it and written about it. I'm certainly not the first person to look at the prophecy. What's interesting is that we see today in the modern world that the nations that are listed in the prophecy are now lining up. The first one is Russia, Gog Magog. Okay, the second one is Persia, which is modern-day Iran. In fact, only 50 years ago, up till 50 years ago, it had been called Persia for literally millennia. And now it's called Iran. But, expatriate Iranians refer to themselves as Persians, and that's what they are. I mean, they're Persians, okay? So the first two nations that we see in the prophecy of Ezekiel are literally in bed with each other big time. Putin has just sent new missiles down to Iran, and they will attack a land of unwalled villages. Now, there are people who look at that and say that Israel is not a land of unwalled villages, and in my opinion, they're dead wrong. In the ancient world, any city in the ancient world had a huge wall around it to keep out invaders. That's just what you did. Yes, there were people dwelling in smaller villages without the walls, but any city, any town had walls. With the advent of the airplane, all that became obsolete. All that warfare became obsolete and archaic. Therefore, we don't need to build cities with walls anymore because of the airplane. So, in my opinion, the prophecy is ripe for the taking. The fruit's ripe for the taking in that prophetic word, because Israel is a land of unwalled villages that are dwelling without gates and bars. It fulfills that. We see the nations surrounding it that have threatened, as lately as about 2 weeks ago, Ahmadinejad, the president of Iran, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, threatened once again that the Zionist regime would soon be destroyed. Soon be destroyed. Now, this isn't the first time he's gone on record and said this, and he does it on the world stage. There will be war there. It will be a confederacy of nations, precisely as this 25-year-old prophecy in Ezekiel talks about. Israel will respond with its nuclear arsenal. I also believe that it's a two-pronged attack, and this is what my book warns about, that the great Satan is the United States in the eyes of the radical jihadists, but only less is Israel. It'll be a combined attack where they will detonate dirty bombs which are already in the country, which have already come up through the southern border, and it'll be like having 6 or a dozen Katrinas happening simultaneously. Will be taken out of the picture. Israel is attacked. They will respond to with their nuclear arsenal. Again, this is my theory, working theory. What this will trigger is the supernatural part. And I mean, I'm giving your listeners a real thumbnail sketcher. That's why you got to read the book, because it's just I put it step by step, piece by piece, and this is how I arrive at it. There are 10,000 UFO sightings per year. 5,000 are reported to MUFON, and the person I spoke to, Mr. George Filer, Colonel George Filer, believes that at least another 5,000 go unreported because people are just afraid to report them. So the estimate conservatively is 10,000. I also spoke to one of the gentlemen who was in Stevensville, Texas, and actually saw the craft. Not the lights, saw the craft. The craft passed over his head. He's the guy that talked about this thing being over a mile long.
Wow.
And I spoke to him, verbatim. He would not come on record. I sent him my book. I'm due to speak with him in the next week or two. He said call back in a month after he had time to settle it. But, a mile craft, that thing's huge. It's not the little 30 or 40 or 50-foot disc anymore. We're looking at motherships. This thing is huge. Can you imagine? Here, and this is what this next prophecy I will tell you begs the question, how do we get there? And this is the prophecy. It says very specifically that when the Antichrist rises, he will set up a one-world religion and a one-world government. How the heck are you going to set up a one-world religion when you've got 1.5 billion Christians who believe in one worldview and 1.2 Muslims who believe in something else? Well, one way you could do that, one way you could change everybody's worldview very, very quickly, is if you had 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile wide craft hovering over multiple cities all over the globe. All bets are off, folks. Your worldview is going to change. We're not alone, especially if they've got holographic film of things like the resurrection of Christ, the crucifixion of Christ. Now, I'm not making this stuff up, and I'm not pulling it out of my hat. That's why you need to get the book, you need to read it, because it's all footnoted where I'm drawing sources from. Many people who allegedly have been abducted by these so-called extraterrestrials constantly talk about, now there's no collusion between these witnesses, they talk about seeing holographic film of the crucifixion or the resurrection of Christ. So things are in place for this thing, and that would change everyone's worldview literally in seconds, just like it did the gentleman in Stevensville.
Wow. Well, Lynn, we're still waiting. Actually, I had checked the box, and that scared me when the phone line lit up. But no, we're actually still awaiting the book, and I haven't checked this week for that. But we're going to have you on again next week, to finish this out. But we've got you on still for another 9 minutes now. But that's some amazing stuff. Tell me more about this these holographic images. Where does that come in at?
Well, they're saying, you remember, if the Antichrist is going to set up some sort of a one-world religious system, how are you going to get 1.2, how are you going to get billions of people to change their worldview?
Yeah.
You're going to need an event. You're not going to have some guy stand up there and tell them, no. You're going to have some event that's absolutely earth-shattering and mind-blowing. I link it. And I realize, here's the caveat. I'm on dangerous territory here with Catholics because many Catholics believe that the Fatima apparitions of 1917 were, in fact, the real deal. My research shows, and I believe, that the 1917 Fatima apparitions were not that of the Mary of the Bible, that in fact it was part of the coming deception which Scripture and prophecy tells us will come upon the old earth, that when this deception comes, even the elect would be deceived if that were possible. So what is coming is unbelievable. 1917 Fatima apparitions, in my opinion, is a precursor or a harbinger of things to come. The 70,000 people who were in the field that day who saw the apparitions of Fatima had their worldview changed in a twinkling of an eye.
I'm sorry, just to back up, hopefully I get this right, but are you talking about the event that happened in Spain in 1917? Or
actually, I was just about to give you the backstory.
Okay.
It's a great question. Thank you for the lead-in.
Sorry.
In Portugal in 1917, in a small town called Fatima, in a little cove called Irene's Cove, Cova de Iria, there was this apparition that allegedly appeared to these three kids. The kids were very young, prepubescent children, and they saw this apparition who at first said it was just from heaven, never said it was the Virgin Mary, just said it was from heaven. And it gave messages to the kids. And, of course, this caused a great amount of consternation with the clergy. What are the kids looking at? And is it real? Is it fake? What is this thing? And so finally the clergy, after months of the apparitions, it would also appear on the 13th of the month. So the clergy goes, we want to see a sign. The kids go back and ask the apparition. They want to see a sign. The apparition tells them, on October 13th, next month, there'll be a sign. So the kids go back and tell this. Word gets out. 70,000 people are standing in the field at Irene's Cove in Fatima. They are awaiting the apparition to show up. The apparition says that she would be there at 12 noon. 12 noon comes and goes. Nothing happens. It's been raining all day. There's a sea of people. You can see pictures of it. Just umbrellas all over the place. Everybody's there. Politicians, bankers, shoemakers, peddlers, bakers, farmers, peasants, rich, old, young, poor. Everybody's there. It's just a good cross-section of humanity. 1 o'clock comes. The rain suddenly stops. The clouds part. And in the words of the people who actually witnessed it, and you have to remember this is in 1917, so there's nothing in the lexicon in that year for what we would term UFO or flying saucer. Those words that we bandy about so glibly did not exist at that time. What the eyewitnesses say they saw, and it's more than one. I looked up, I'm paraphrasing here, I looked up and saw a dull silver disc. I looked up and saw a silver disc spinning. I looked up and saw a disc giving out multicolored, like a rainbow.
Wow.
Disc. There are pictures of the event, of the spheres before and after, and of the children. There's not one picture of the actual, what Catholics call the miracle of the sun. And it changed everybody's worldview.
Well,
and I point to that as a harbinger of deception that's coming on the planet.
Well, Lynn, I hate to interrupt you, but we do have a quick caller for you. We've got Ron from Raleigh, North Carolina. What's going on, Ron?
Hey, Jay. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing great, man. I hope you are.
Yeah, this is quite a show, man. It's a very logical trail that we're hearing, and I have a lot of things, but I have a few questions, I guess.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, it was going back. Do you want to go back, or do you want to stay where we're at?
We've only got 5 minutes with Lynn tonight, but he's coming back next week for the first full hour again.
I got you.
And you can call back if you don't get everything answered tonight. You can call back next week. So.
Sure. We're going with Fatima. You know, that was a religious experience for the children. But how are you saying that you're so sure that things been misinterpreted? There's thousands of people that pray about this constantly. I actually have a web page up on my own in which the whole message of Fatima ended up being. Over time, it ended up being more of it's tied. Everything ties back to Jesus. Who could tie UFOs and this, attack of evil beings on Christianity and people that believe in Christianity? Remember, I believe that Christianity, you have to express that and say also the Christianity was the royal house of David as well. Jesus was also the king of the Jews. So he was the one who was responsible for administering over the 12 tribes and releasing to them important things like technology, which he could prototype through carpentry. That's why his father would have been, of course, king of the Jews.
What's the question of Fatima? I mean, you're all over the map here, with all due respect, Ron. What's the question specifically with Fatima?
With Fatima? Well, it wasn't a question. It was a matter, I guess, of interpretation, and I was getting to that. Is that Jesus, when he left his message to Peter, the apostle, he said, a sheep. That's basically what he left as the whole mission for the entire church. So that if Fatima is something that foretells great disaster in the future, then the whole key to surviving it and thus enduring through that time of tribulation, including attacks by Lucifer and his assembled army, was to be prepared to live together and share food and to live as Christians and to undergo suffering and things like that. And, it's like having the knowledge, like you obviously have an advanced amount of knowledge and you've thought this very far through about the chess playing in the Middle East. But that's like also, I knew a guy who was in the Iraqi royalty. The Iraq had their own king, and I met a prince of Iraq. And he talked a lot about Saddam. And Saddam had this big 500 square acre or 500 square mile area that nobody in Iraq could even get near or they would be killed instantly. They had guards around it, and it was alleged that he had nuclear weapons there. And all the scenarios for the military didn't go around catching Saddam in some little bunker, on the edge of some town somewhere. It was on having to stalk him in his own area. And the scenario was, of course, if you landed on that area to try to capture the bunker complex, he would set the nuclear weapon off and blow up, as much of an American division as he possibly could, which is probably what they would have sent to go get him.
Ron, I hate to cut you off, buddy, but we need your question because we've only got a minute and a half.
All right.
Okay. If there was going to be a question in all of this, it would be if you're going to call someone the Antichrist, and Jesus had this key position as the house of David. Remember, Herod had him killed with the consent of the Romans to remove him because the Jews, the Sadducees and the Pharisees, which is what the people became, had decided that they didn't want their own royalty. They didn't want the kingdom to constantly be placed at the mercy of God. They wanted to make a deal with the biggest military power in town. And remember, the biggest military power in town is not us, it's the Chinese.
Ron, we're gonna have to cut you, buddy. We got less than a minute.
No question.
I'm sorry.
Call us back next week, Ron, okay?
Yeah.
Call us first hour. We'll get you on.
Okay.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
Sorry about that, Lynn. I thought we were going to get a question there, but we've run out of time.
Yeah.
So
we got to take our next break.
I'll give you the last 30 seconds, Lynn. And
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on. Look forward to seeing you next week. If you want to get the book, go to my website, Spiral, like a spiral staircase, spiraloflife.com. Spiral, like a spiral staircase, spiraloflife.com, spiraloflife.com, and you can get it directly from me. It's autographed. And I also have a monthly newsletter, which literally talks about politics, prophecy, and the supernatural, the ongoing machinations in all three subjects. And so that's $1.50 a month. You can sign up for that and cancel it anytime you want to. But we have a steady membership. Constantly people are signing up for the newsletter. And if you order now, you get actually 2 back newsletters for free if you order the book. So that's what we're doing. And thanks for having me on the show, guys. And it's been a pleasure. And I look forward to next week.
Absolutely.
Right,
we'll see you next
Likewise.
week. Thank you, Lynn. Lynn Marzulli, spiraloflife.com.
See you next week.
Check that out, guys. Right now we're going on break. We'll be back in a little bit. You're listening to Woe 2. And we're back on World of the Unexplained. Now, I have to confess, I didn't prepare tonight with another follow-up guest. I'd had some ideas about some people to call, but it's just been one of them days, one of them weeks.
Fine, I'll tell my story. The one I told you the other day.
Don't be getting charged with no felonies now.
Okay, nah, I mean that's no big deal. I mean I was looking for through a drawer for a paperclip. Now the person who owned this drawer was somebody from Eastern Europe. Okay. Now I'm not going to even give the. I
know this story. We probably shouldn't tell this story. It's pretty, if it's what I'm thinking of.
But I'm not giving you any other details than that. I'm looking for a paperclip.
All right.
We'll just leave it at that. Somebody from Eastern Europe. I look through looking for a paperclip, and then all of a sudden, what do I find in the third drawer down? I eventually find a paperclip. Okay. But I find also in this drawer, no kidding, I find, and this is the only thing in the drawer, there was a small little silver crucifix and about 3 to 4 cloves of garlic.
No joke. This is where he works at.
No joke.
Maybe you work with a bunch of vampires.
I don't know. It kind of freaked me out.
No. If you worked at a law firm, I could totally understand that.
Yeah, because you guys are
all those vampires.
You guys really are bloodsuckers. But I mean, it's not a joke at all, Chuck. I mean, I'm telling you the truth. It was a crucifix.
I thought you were going to tell me you found some Nazi memorabilia, a pelvis ashtray or something.
No. But that's,
I was bracing myself.
That's messed up, Chuck. But isn't that crazy? I mean, it really is. I mean, it was a small silver crucifix and 4 cloves of dried garlic.
That's crazy.
And that was the only thing in that drawer,
that's
too.
That's crazy.
You know?
Now, how old is this person? Or do you know?
Yeah, fairly old, older.
So maybe a person that's from that country originally that maybe
they are from
they
are from that country originally.
Hold on to some of these older superstitions, maybe.
Have their accents and everything like that. But I mean, you know.
I'm reading, the Kostova novel right now, the historian.
Mm-hmm.
Really great,
isn't it though?
Fictional vampire book, probably the best one I've picked up in a number of years so far. You just can't put it down.
I mean, it's a long book, and I got it at Christmas, and I finished it like a week later.
Oh, it's great.
It really is, but it brings up stuff like that because this person is from that
part
area,
of the world,
and they're like an older person, and it's like if I were to ask that person,
is this her first book too?
Yeah, Kostova's first book. Yeah, I believe so.
The great thing about it is the writing is so great, but the great thing about it is there's moments in that book where you're there, man. I mean,
totally. With the description and everything like that.
It's like you feel it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I can't really say that for many books, but it's so wonderfully written. Check it out. It's called The Historian by Kostova.
Elizabeth Kostova.
Kostova, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it has the concept of like the brushes with darkness. You know what I'm saying? It's like you almost get close to them, or they almost come up to the main characters. They don't quite get there, but you know that they're... You know what I'm saying? It's like you brush into somebody.
You could feel a pin drop almost in some of those. I mean, it's just really amazing stuff.
So
we've got Adam from Tennessee online. Adam, you with us?
Hey, I'm here. How you guys doing?
Good.
Pretty good.
Did you get to catch that? I hope you did.
Yeah, I did, man. And I was going to call. I was trying to call, but I think Ron Paul Hunter beat me to it. I actually did have 2 questions.
Well, he's coming back next week for the first hour
cool.
again. So we'll make sure we get you in.
Week, but I got your email, so I just wanted to let you know. I was really wanting to call, but...
well, you definitely got dibs next week, man.
Yeah, we'll make sure you get in next week, man. Just keep trying, and we'll get you in there. But that was... And you actually recommended this guest to us, and I tell you what, man, that was a great recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Got any more?
I don't know. I'd have to think, but I don't know. Yeah, I think his ideas are really pretty sound.
Oh yeah.
When you think about it, you should read his fiction books too. I'm in the middle of the second one right now.
Now, do you have the new book that he's talking about?
Yeah, the Politics, Prophecy, Supernatural.
Yeah.
I read that last year.
What do you think of it?
Yeah. It's a great book. I mean, things kind of make sense. I don't really believe that all the UFO stuff is a deception, but, probably most of it is.
Well, you just haven't been listening to our show long enough. No, I can't. Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, he's got a lot of really good ideas. I'm looking forward to next week. Why couldn't he come on for the whole 2 hours? What was up with that? Just scheduling stuff? Or?
Yeah, he's got some other obligations on Mondays that he has to attend to, so that's why he can only give us the first hour. And I wanted to have him on for a 2-hour slot like I would a regular guest, so we just gave him 2 shows.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I'm happy you guys did that.
Yeah.
But I'll call back next week, most definitely.
Absolutely, please do.
Questions. He didn't really talk a lot about the UFO stuff tonight. Hopefully he'll.
Oh, I'm sure he'll branch into it.
Right.
It's pretty important stuff, I think.
So now where are you at again? You're in Nashville, right?
Yeah, Nashville.
How's the weather out there?
It's just cold.
Okay.
You didn't get any tornadoes out there, did you?
Yeah, that's where I was going with that.
Man, we got lucky. Nashville got lucky, but kind of like north and south of us got hit really bad.
Yeah.
And 2 people called me all day the next day saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" All that stuff.
Oh man.
So yeah, it was.
Well, Omnisound Radio 1 is based out of Nashville now. It used to be out of Florida, and all that moved to Nashville just a year or 2 ago.
Yeah.
So.
Which, by the way, I tried listening to you guys on that. I couldn't. It wasn't working.
We're having some problems tonight with a few things, so we're hoping that we're not probably getting the audience that we normally get.
I thought Omnisound was actually one of the few things that was.
How are you listening to us now?
KWSS.
Okay. Well,
they got on there. I just followed you guys' website, then we got on their link.
Okay.
So I was able to listen to the show.
Well, that's cool. Right. Well, we want to give a shout out to KWSS. Thanks, guys, for picking up on our technical glitches tonight. Got to thank Mr. Chuck Browder for those. Not call it like I see it. I'm sorry.
Can I just make a suggestion?
Sure.
You guys got to get some new music, man.
Your heat is burning me, baby.
It's killing me.
Oh, isn't it awful? I mean, it's just awful.
Oh, man. I've never actually heard either one of those songs all the way through.
It's because you're not here for editing, man.
Man.
That's not your band, is it?
No. Oh, gosh, no.
All right.
No, that was the people in a bottle of whiskey one night, I think.
I don't know. Chuck recorded that,
bunch of fortifying wine out in Archdale, man.
Oh, man. Fortified wine in Archdale, even better. I'm surprised they're in a little more twang in that.
I co-wrote that, man. I take offense to.
You should.
You should take offense.
If you co-wrote that, you should take offense,
I'm getting
brother.
from both ends here now. You see how they treat me, man.
Yeah. Go back in there and count that money, Chuck.
That's it.
The bags of gold.
Are there some local Kernersville bands that you're playing?
Yeah.
Oh, no. It's one of the bands on there
here in Kernersville, man.
One of the bands.
We
don't have much here in Kernersville, actually, but one of the groups on there is mine. The Black Book Romance stuff, the Storm stuff, the Once Upon a Time, all
stuff that sounds like maybe it's
the stuff that sounds like it was recorded in a real studio. Yeah, that's mine.
Oh my God!
Ron says he likes some music.
Yeah, bonfire's burning me down, guys.
Yeah. That's pretty bad when the caller tells you that.
Well, look, I feel you, man. That Casio drum beat is a little hard to take.
Okay, look. As soon as I get enough money for a Casio guitar, I'll put in some new wave stuff.
Trent's greatest hits.
Yeah,
you need a pan flute like Zamfir.
And we'll try to change it up, but until I get that keytar, it's on hiatus right now.
I can bring my
Prince New Wave star.
That's right. We're gonna call it the Ron Mexico Band.
Featuring what was it? Carl Latvia. Drums by John Norway.
Don't forget Hercules Uganda.
That's right.
Oh, right.
And Little John China.
Little John China. On backups and tambourine.
You're gonna produce it.
Yeah. Produced
more
by
cowbell.
Little John. Yeah.
Need more cowbell.
Okay. Well, sorry about the music. We'll work on it.
Oh, no, it's okay. It brightens my Monday night, let me tell you.
I hear that.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys, you having him on, and I'll give you a call next week.
Yeah, please do.
All right, Adam, we appreciate your call. Thanks for listening,
Thanks, gentlemen.
buddy.
Y'all have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
That was a rough call there.
That was, man. That's great, man.
I think I got
it said all the
about
things,
half a dozen times there.
It said all the things I've been wanting to for so long. Wow. We can call them.
Hey, if they have any local bands anybody wants
Yeah, any local
That's true.
bands out there, send us your stuff.
Please.
Man, we'll play it. Just
Please.
give us a release on it, and we'll play it.
Say you can play this stuff, and we'll put it on there.
And we won't sue you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I will keep all that stuff.
So
in case you do.
In case you do. And then I'll be
yeah,
like,
that's
no,
true.
Look here, buddy.
You podcasters out there too. This goes out to you. You don't. Oh wait a minute. They don't really hear the music, do they?
No,
they don't.
I don't think
We
they've
cut
ever
it
heard
out.
of Bonfire, man.
Yeah,
Maybe we ought to
like,
leave
what's
that
that
in a couple
bonfire?
of times just to see.
Speaking of podcasting, though, March 10th, Day of the Pods.
That's right.
Go ahead, break it down, man.
We want you podcasters to listen. We know you're out there.
Podcasters, we want your pod listeners to listen
Live, that is, yeah.
Live.
The people of the pod. People of the pods unite. March 10th.
Yeah, we're
Come
trying
to
get
WOTU.
all you podcast people that don't pick us up on the radio, that listen to us via podcast. Just go to our website and listen live that night if we're not in your area, worldoftheunexplained.com. And we want to get as many of you guys there as possible. We're going to be giving away tons of stuff. We got tons of stuff, don't we, Chuck?
Yeah, we have amassed quite a collection of things.
Yeah, we have.
Every
You got
time.
a box full of stuff
I
to
do.
give away for
Box,
real.
oh goody.
Maybe 2 boxes of stuff.
It probably would be if we put it all together. Yeah,
that's
So
true.
we got a bunch.
So call in multiple times. Maybe you
You can get more than one. Yeah, and then
It'd
we
be
can save
fun.
on
We'll-
shipping too. Because
We just basically, because we get so many of you guys downloading our podcast and listening to them, we want to hear from you guys. We want to see that silent majority or whatever of people that listen to WOTU. Not on Monday, but just whenever they feel like it, to listen on Monday and to talk to them. Say,
That's
hey,
right. 8 to 10
thanks,
Eastern.
thanks guys for listening to us. And
if you can't figure out what time zone it is, just get on the internet and Google something. Google like Eastern Time. It'll tell you what it is.
Yeah.
Or you could just call up around 8:30 Eastern Standard Time that night and
Like
take
I
a shot
said.
in the dark, man.
Yeah. Take a shot.
That's right. Speaking of calling, 1-877-722. Man, I'm giving out numbers here. 1-877-722-7382 or 1-877.
Okay, there, Ozzy.
Man, Chuck.
I'm sorry.
1-877.
The moon.
I'm trying to get some people to call so I
Okay,
can
man.
give them the numbers to call. Do you mind?
Give the
Do
number.
you mind a little
Give
bit?
the number, brother.
Can you cut a brother a break here? 1-877-722-7382, 1-877-SCARE-YOU2, or locally 336-996-1596. Open mic night at WOTU.
Ooh, that's a scary.
It is kind
thought.
of, isn't it really?
Yeah.
But we were talking about the historian and how good
Great
of a book it is.
man. And I tried to get her on, and the publisher
Yeah,
told me
she's-
that she just didn't do interviews.
It's terrible. I mean, we'd love to have her
She doesn't
on.
do interviews.
She doesn't do interviews. It's a
Just like
best-selling book.
And it's like, nope, I don't want
Social
No interviews.
anxiety disorder. That's
I
my
have
guess.
no
would be.
idea.
Maybe
It's a good
I
book,
don't know.
though, Chuck. You should read it.
I mean,
Well, somebody that's
some people are
actually
very
kind of a good author,
Yeah.
an awesome author, you would expect them to have, a few idiosyncrasies.
Well, I invited
Possibly,
I
yeah.
invited Ann Rice on the show more than
Same
a year
thing,
ago.
right?
No, they just never responded. They're like, "We've never heard of your show." No,
you're a nothing.
well, they didn't say that. They just didn't respond. That way later they can have that plausible deniability and be like, if we're syndicated nationwide, over 200 stations.
We never blew you off.
We never blew you. We didn't get that email.
What?
We didn't get that call.
What?
No one told us you called.
That's true. We would have loved to have been on your little,
exactly.
on your show. It's like,
The people at Carvel's firm were pretty smart about it, actually. They were like, oh, he's busy right now. He definitely can't do it.
He's too busy for you.
Oh,
But we'd love to consider it again in the future.
He's putting on some more ugly face paint or whatever it is to get that crazy look.
Skeletor?
Yeah, Carvel?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, you're talking about the ugliest man.
The Cajun.
The ugliest man in politics.
He's awesome. He's
I know, I like
in
him.
my top three as far as the ones that I idolize and hold up there as the
Chuck's
the
liberal
greats
idols.
of the not liberal idols, because Karl Rove is up there too.
Oh well, there we go.
No, as far as political strategists are concerned, probably the third one might be Joe Trippi.
Okay.
Dick Morris maybe.
Trippy.
Howard Dean's guy from the 04.
I just wanted to laugh at the name Trippy.
His nickname in college was probably Trippy. too.
I'm sure he did a lot of drugs. The guy's from Vermont.
Oh, well, that explains.
And if you're from Vermont, you're
going to do a lot of drugs because that ice cream tastes so much better.
Well, those Ben and Jerry's guys are just a bunch of hippies that took too much acid, and now you have all these crazy things in ice cream.
Oh, what was I going to say?
Bubblegum chunk with fudge.
Yeah, somebody's sitting around one day going, "Hey man, it would be good.
What? I think some
bubble gum with some fudge. Oh man,
peanuts. Put some peanuts in there. Oh yeah. Strawberry swirl and gummy bears, but they're all cut up, so it's just like the heads of the gummy bears.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, gummy bear heads, because that's the best part. You want to bite the head off the gummy bear because that's the best part.
You could steal its power that way. No.
Just like page 210 from Confessions of St. Augustine. Have I ever told you that story, Chuck?
I think you may have on the air before, years ago. But go ahead.
I'll tell it again.
It's good.
One time in my religious studies class, and I'm a big fan of like the early Christian theology and the books. I've read the Origin and the Augustine and Irenaeus. He didn't write a whole lot, but we were happy to read Confessions by St. Augustine. And I don't know, maybe I was tired, maybe I just wanted to cause a scene. I used to do that a lot. Sometimes I still do. But and I was sitting there, and it's a small class, about 10, 15 people, and it's a 3-hour night class. And, the guy was just kind of droning on. He was a pretty good professor, actually, but, I just kind of sat there. I was like, looking at my book. It's kind of like, this page doesn't really have anything interesting on it. So I tore the page out of the book, like in the middle of class. And I started tearing it up into little strips, little bite-sized strips. You follow me, Chuck? And so I sat there and I started.
Where I think you're going with this is you're about to eat some paper.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I was sort of looking at the professor, and I was sort of eating the paper, and everybody saw me tear the page out and start tearing it into strips and just sort of put it in my mouth. I was kind of chewing on it, kind of looking around, and eventually the professor said, "Mr. Lackey, are you hungry there? What are you doing?" I said, "St. Augustine is so wise. I'm consuming his power, sir." And that's exactly what I told him. That's the word that I told him.
Consuming his power.
I'm consuming his knowledge.
Like something that might have gone on your permanent record.
It sounds like a definite Dracula Renfield reference too. With spiders. And
right. And that's a good segue since we're talking about vampires, and all of a sudden it comes back around to me eating parts of the Confessions of St. Augustine. I have the utmost respect for that book. I think it's a great book.
Now it's one page less.
But my copy is definitely one page less. Yeah. I did it for a cheap thrill in a 3-hour night class one night. That's basically when he called a break, I think, after I said that. He called for like a 10-minute break.
I didn't realize this was at the collegiate level.
Yeah, it was.
This was at UNC.
It was actually my senior
crazy
year.
Stuff though that you wouldn't expect to see at the collegiate level either.
Yeah, like people who are incapable of writing.
Or I know people who chew, what is it? The stuff you dip, man. I guess dip. The chaw.
Yeah,
and split it up, spit it on the floor of the auditorium.
Really?
You're lecturing, and I've seen that happen a number of times.
Oh my gosh,
that's crazy. But that's not as cool as eating a page out of the Confessions and saying you're consuming its power.
No, it's
because St. Augustine is so wise.
Same.
Definitely not.
Well,
guys, we're at the bottom of the hour here.
There's my little story. Second one of the night, Scott. You got to pony up.
Phone lines are open, guys. I'll be telling stories when we get back. You're listening to World of the Unexplained. We'll see you in a bit.
Woe too. Here we are. Woe too.
Yeah.
We got all of our bags in the right place, I guess. 1-877-722-7382. 1-877-SCARE-YOU2. That doesn't even make any sense. We got our bags. I mean, you know.
You said it, man.
I don't really even know what that means. 336-996-1596.
What about bags?
I don't know. I don't even know what I said now.
Trent has no idea.
You know, I just sort of put it out there. And it didn't, you know, if someone can make sense of it, please, by all means.
Ugly bags of mostly water.
Were we talking in code now?
I thought D was going to pick up on that, but apparently not.
No. See, I don't even know what you're talking about.
See, D's not even paying attention.
That's what we are, man. That's what we are.
Ugly bags.
To the other species.
Oh, right. You know, sometimes we're called those stupid apes, you know, if you buy that. I'm just saying, you know. You get referred to as the stupid apes. That's us, humans.
So anyway, a priest walks into a bar. No, I have nothing.
Oh, you don't have a story to tell?
I don't know. I'm thinking.
I really thought you were going to come up with something there.
I thought
there was a joke that you were.
No, it was my favorite.
It'd be really funny if you did, but I mean, I'm just sitting here.
Day of the Pods again.
What? Day of the Pods, March 10th. Right, all you podcasters, show up. Listen, we'll give you stuff. It'll be fun. There'll be games.
There's a girl screaming.
What?
There's a girl screaming. See.
Now he's just playing with the controller.
I am, yeah.
Oh, so you're just making little sounds.
And a glass crashing.
Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on. Scott, I really can't stand that. I'll not have it.
Oh, I did it the wrong time. I'm sorry.
Okay,
here,
let's
you can
try.
shoot me, though. I've got a handgun here. Go ahead.
Scott, I've had enough of you and your wise-cracking ways. Here it comes.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
Please take him away from the controller.
Okay,
I think so.
I'm going to stop
I'll
now.
cut his hands off next time he does it.
Yeah.
Chuck's a Muslim now. Wow.
Yeah. he really has a hatchet here. Somehow my microphone got
stealing
turned.
once when I was 5. Now I don't have any hands because I live in an Islamic nation.
Wish I had stolen somewhere except Turkey. That's where I gotta go. They put some gas in my. I'm sorry.
I was about to say, just ain't it a bitch over there, man? That you know, you get your hand cut off for stealing, but you can do all the raping you want to.
I was going to say,
I thought they castrated you. If you
I was going to say, you don't know what gets cut off when you rape.
Well, I'm just going by what I hear, man. They got rape rooms over there. That's what George Bush says.
Oh yeah.
Remember people?
Rape
rooms.
That's right.
Rape rooms. That didn't make any sense to me somehow. Okay, cutting a guy's hand off
because it's a chauvinist society.
Well, okay.
I mean,
well, no.
You could say
I mean,
the same thing about Christianity too, but
we're not going to go there, Chuck.
I know.
I mean, Chuck was about to. He was taking that step, but then
I might get a boo boo.
Yep.
That's right.
Okay, but I mean,
Wow. Anyway, back to the show.
nah. But seriously, I mean, because when you cut that guy's hand off, all of a sudden he's
going to be stealing with his feet.
No, I mean basically
you can't stop it by cutting the hand off. He's going to steal with his feet.
He's going to be less efficient at working. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, if he was working, he wouldn't be stealing.
No, well, okay, that's true. But
those
I mean,
are all service-based economies, actually. So I mean, what is he, instead of selling trinkets with his hands, he'll be wiping stuff up with his his chin or something,
or his nub.
Yeah,
he's stealing stuff with his mouth.
If he's really that good at it, social Darwinism would dictate maybe he could.
Hasim, look at that over there. What is that? That's a tasty apple.
I'll get
it. That's
Come back here, I'll bite you.
What are you going to do, bleed on me?
It is beginning to sound a little like a Monty Python radio show.
It is.
It kind of is, you know. It's almost like
stuff,
we should have a little song and dance.
No, I really wanted to see
Speaking
that
of
when it was
song-
on Broadway.
Oh, yeah, that would have been great.
Camelot the Musical.
Oh, that'd been
Or it's
fun.
called Spamalot.
I think it was
based on Monty
Spamalot.
Python?
Yeah,
I think it was
It was
Spamalot.
based on the Holy Grail, and it went to Broadway.
That doesn't surprise me. They do Broadway productions of all sorts of like sitcoms, adaptations. I remember there was a Gilligan's Island one a number of years ago.
gosh.
Yeah, think about how bad that would be.
Oh, that would have been awful.
That would have been a waste of 2 hours, and I probably could
And
be
people
skating in
actually paid
Rockefeller.
for that, you know.
I'm sure that they paid.
It probably sold out.
hundreds of dollars for
Yeah.
tickets to that thing.
Probably did.
Idiots. Oh, what? Did I say that? Yeah, I did.
Although I love me some Gilligan's Island. Don't get me
Speaking of
wrong.
which, talking about comedy and musicals,
Of course you do, Chuck. It's every chauvinist man's fantasy, right?
being trapped on a desert island with a farm girl
and a movie star,
actress,
and all you've got to compete
and a hot old rich lady.
All you've got to compete with,
Mrs.
Mama,
Mrs. Howe.
All you have to compete with is like an old rich dude, an overweight skipper.
Who is most likely gay too.
Yeah. There you go, man.
And then the professor, and like the women really want the professor, but he's just sort of too involved in his professorial smart things that he doesn't even notice. That's how it works. Because he's really the one that they want, but he doesn't even care.
So they're going to swing with Gilligan.
Yeah, because Gilligan's the only one left, and then Mr. Howe. Come on,
But Gilligan's always just too dumb to get it. Man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean the professor's too oblivious, and Gilligan's too dumb. But anyway, what I was saying was,
put me on Gilligan's Island. It would have been a whole other story.
Nah, you know what? That would have been. Oh, that's really not. That's just a bad idea because you're trapped on the island.
That's true.
And eventually you're going to get kind of.
Yeah.
It's not a fantasy at all. You're going like, I would love a Klondike bar. You know what I'm saying?
To really hate coconuts.
Yeah. Oh man.
They say they're. If you eat enough of them, they become somewhat of a. What's that stuff called?
The thing that makes you go to the bathroom. Omega-3s or something? No, a diuretic?
It makes you use the bathroom a lot.
I believe it's a diuretic.
Yeah. Apparently, if you eat enough coconuts.
Gives you the squirts, man.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, Chuck, but I was kind of
Thanks for bringing it up, though.
Take this whole thing to a cruder level. We try to keep a very sophisticated, classy show here.
That's right, Chuck. What are you doing?
And then
Why
we
are you
have
dragging
Chuck.
us down, man?
Yeah, we're talking
Why
about.
Are you bringing it down?
We're talking about historian, high literature, and you and your beard.
It's the beard, yeah.
Coming in here and talking about, I guess just squirt.
I don't think it was like that, but yeah.
He doesn't.
I think you may have just taken it to a whole nother level.
I may have. Ron Paul Hunter, you're on line 2, where you're going to take it to another level too, aren't we, Ron?
Exactly. Man.
All right.
You guys were talking about spaceships earlier. I say we go back to the spaceships.
Let's go back to spaceships. I think that's a great idea.
Okay. I've never actually seen something that I can't identify as far as I know, but, that's not counting hallucinations. I told you about, did I ever tell you about this giant hallucination I had one time?
Not sure.
Okay, we'll save that for some other time. It was really amazing.
Is it the one with the asteroid?
No, it's the one with the giant vultures.
No, we got to hear this now, man. Bring
come on.
You can't just bait us like that and leave it.
Yeah, that's just not fair.
And if he's lying, we'll find out real quick.
Okay,
go ahead. It technically isn't a spaceship story, but it's a doozy. It's like when I had driven, it's like a hallucination. When I had driven 15 hours, I was trying to get to Florida for my grandfather's funeral, and it was, I drove from Texas, so I was driving across Texas, but when I got to the Highway 95, I made a wrong turn and went up to South Carolina, so I had to drive all the way back down to Florida. And as I got down to Fort Lauderdale, I was starting to hallucinate, man. So I went and actually finally found my their house, and I was pulling in, was going to stop, and, we're hanging out with waiting for the family to show up. And it was, I'm standing at the end of the street, and I'm looking around at all the stuff around there, and it's like there's a bar at the end of the street, and, they got all the nice Florida houses, and people got the pink flamingos out front. So I'm looking all the way down at the end of the street. There's some railroad tracks, and there's this used car dealership. So I turn around and look at it really good, and I'm staring at it like I can't believe what I'm seeing, because they look like these two giant 60-foot-tall Macy's Day balloon vultures sitting there right beside each other, two identical vultures, right? So I'm sitting there, and I start walking down the street. So I'm watching these two vultures. All of a sudden, one vulture kind of turns to the other vulture and attacks it and, rips its chest open and eats, starts to eat the innards out of it, and it dies. And then it resets itself. So the whole time I'm walking, getting closer and closer to this car dealership, and I'm telling you, I'm 100 yards away. So I walk right up to this thing, and I'm looking up, and I still see the same happens. It repeats itself. So I finally walk up to the lot, and when I get up to the lot, I look up, and there's nothing there, man.
Oh my gosh,
that's a hallucination.
That is totally like Heckle and Jekyll meets Prometheus,
Yeah, well, I mean, that's my unexplained story. Was this thing was just, I was so convinced it was real that I was walking down there to check it out, and I mean, I was totally amazed. I thought these people had spent.
Did you get some laced marijuana, Ron? We want to know.
Well, that's what I was about to ask him, actually, if it was a flashback from his days spinning bootlegs at the college radio station.
Chuck knows all about the flashbacks, Ron. It's okay.
Exactly, man. Well, college radio stations are some interesting things in themselves. They tend to generate their own really funny stories.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
But back to UFOs, though.
I'm sure you guys have got hundreds of hours of running talk show radio. What was that at UNCG?
No, I did mine at Guilford.
Guilford, yeah.
Guilford. Well, what happened up there? Does any have any unexplained happenings while you were on the air? Anybody call in or report a UFO or anything like that?
I don't think so. It's been so long, honestly.
Most of the time, people called and they wanted to hear music being played.
Yeah,
right?
A lot of people didn't like the talk.
They're kind of irritated at the fact that there was a talk show going or a paranormal vibe going on. They didn't want to hear it. At 2:00 in the morning, because that's
they didn't like. This is before the paranormal got all popular.
Yeah.
I was one of the pioneers, man.
Right. But no UFOs or anything. I don't think.
Well, all right, but I was going to state, and there was this guy that I had met, and he told me this story about it. He saw it down near the coast, like a glowing orange UFO that was bigger than, he said, maybe 300 feet, but he couldn't tell because it was kind of moving in and out, but there were jet fighters behind it, which was one of the striking things. That was I would guess the most verifiable, I'm not sure exactly of all the terminology, I guess like a second-hand sighting of a recounting of a story of somebody, and I'm allegedly a trained observer. I'd been, like a short term. I have the memory or the military training of like an infantry scout, but I don't have any combat experience. I never deployed anywhere with the military, human inspector. So, and I believed him. I believed his story, and he seemed to be very sincere. And he was in a wheelchair, so I didn't see why he would just suddenly lie and make up anything about that. I just asked him, "Have you ever seen a UFO?" And he's like, "As a matter of fact, one day we did. He was in a car with his parents, I think he said." Huh. So, stuff like that's hard to discount. The other really good UFO sightings that I find hard to discount, some of them, even though the Russians have a lot of propaganda, there are some mass sightings over Russia that, turn out to be like missile parts or something like that. But then there are some that are really hard to explain.
Well, we just had mass sightings in Texas not but a couple weeks ago here in the United States.
Yeah, I know a little bit about the sightings over Moscow,
how much do you guys know about the anti-gravity or, possibilities of anti-gravity technology? Because, even on the History Channel, they have these things about the hypothetical spaceship and how it goes in and out of phase with these gravitational waves. And remember, there's if you could get there's a guy named Tom Van Flanderen. He wrote a book called Dark Planets Missing Matter. Gee, I wish I could remember the exact term. But remember the name Tom Van Flanderen. If you look that up, he was an astronomer and still is probably in some capacity an astronomer with the Naval Observatory. I mean, he's not directly connected with them. But he basically explains how gravity works. And so allegedly gravity is built on waves just like light waves, just like our electromagnetic waves too. And they have different velocities. And the velocity wave for gravity waves are much faster even than the velocity of light. So allegedly how UFOs work is they tap into this gravity wave thing, and then they can draw almost unlimited power from that. It's like almost a matter of having a sail and the wind just right. You catch the wind just right, you go really far and fast, and there's a lot of power in it. And it's like the same thing you do that electromagnetically. So looking at some of these very detailed recreations that they're putting on TV, it looks almost like like something people would build in their garage, like a home, like a kit plane. Made with the small anti-gravity components that someone would be flying around and would want to know, you're talking about scientists could launch a gravity-based object and have it fly along a telemetry flight plan and then land and have it be near a military base and then have it take off and come back, and would want to do that just to prove their concept. It's something like that. You see what I mean? It might not even be something that the government would have, quote unquote. It might just be something that very smart people could make.
Well, that's possible. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Thanks for your call, though, Ron, and appreciate the hallucination with the vultures. That was great.
Good stuff.
It was my pleasure, man. I wish you guys could have seen it. It was really amazing.
That's pretty trippy. To say the least.
I don't know if I want to see it, Ron. That would scare me to death. Yeah.
I'll
just take it.
You guys,
All right. Take care, Ron.
See you, Ron.
Bye.
All right.
That brings up another, a very short hallucination story, and I was really, really, really tired. It was when you lived over at that other place, close to where I used to live. And
this is where we used to live.
Please don't do that. I hate that band. But, you know, and I was driving up there.
It's
and
Chuck's favorite band, man. I'm kidding.
I'm sorry, Chuck. They're the worst band. They're the worst band in the world, probably, except for maybe about 20 or 30 other ones. But so I was driving down that road to your house, and I was like kind of drifting in and out, you know, because I have narcolepsy and I fall asleep at the wheel a lot. Yeah. And you know, and that's totally true. And I was driving along, and there's a guy walking down the road, and I'm like looking at him, and he's like an older looking guy, and he turns around. It's Jimmy Carter. It looks like
the former president.
It looks
Jimmy
like President
Carter.
Jimmy Carter taking a nice stroll on a summer afternoon on the road that you live at, or used to live at, not preposition, but used to live. And, you know, he turned around and he's like real friendly. He smiled. I was like, that's Jimmy Carter. And I kept on going, and I never turned around. It was probably clearly somebody else, but, you know, for whatever reason.
Well, you know, it's like a time that you came by my house and you thought it was, you know, me and Willie Nelson were smoking pot on the roof. You remember that?
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was a Willie Nelson, and him and I were actually smoking pot on the roof. No, I'm kidding.
Because it didn't make any sense. Oh,
yeah.
What color am I?
What do you mean, Willie Nelson? You must be crazy, man. No, I don't know Willie Nelson.
Come on, you know Willie.
Millie Nelson.
Millie Wilson.
Millie Wilson. No. But
it's his long lost brother.
No. Speaking of which, you know, Willie Nelson did smoke pot during Carter's administration on top of the White House, I believe. Is that right, Chuck?
Yeah, that is right.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Because I think Carter got a lot of crap out of that.
I don't think it came out till his memoirs, though, years
Yeah,
later.
but I mean, he got a lot of.
Scott, was that a planned segue? Because that worked out perfectly.
I know it did work out well.
You know, because I talked about President Carter and you talked about Willie Nelson.
Well, when you talked about Carter, that's when I thought about that incident. So, yeah, it really wasn't planned, but it worked well.
Yeah.
Did you know that in 1936, a proposed amendment in Congress was an attempt to allow the American people to vote on whether or not the United States should go to war? Can you imagine that? Should we go to war? And we're getting the polls back from New Jersey, right? I mean,
Vermont's right out of it. They don't want anything.
It'd be like a caucus. All the red states were always like, kill them all. It's like,
let's get them.
And we know what Texas is going to vote. You know, in California, they'd be like, well, maybe we should talk to them first about it. You know.
Well, I mean, you know, if we're talking about, you know, the boy over there in Germany or whatever at the time, you know, there was a lot of people who didn't want to go to war with him.
No, you're right. You're right.
A very, very strong. That's what people kind of forget with all these, you know, patriotic war movies and stuff. There was a very, very strong consensus of people who said, we don't need to go to war with these guys.
Let's stay out of this.
It doesn't have anything to do with us whatsoever, you know? And, you know, Pearl Harbor happened, and so that's what came. Although some people say that FDR knew that Pearl Harbor was on its way, and it was a very, very good way of getting into the war without having to politicize it or wrangle with politicians.
What do you think about what our guest tonight said about these dirty bombs going off all over America? You know, that kind of links with Paul Williams and his idea of this American Hiroshima. I mean, what do you think would happen? It would be ultimate chaos, wouldn't it?
It would. But I just kind of...
What would happen to the Constitution?
FEMA.
I mean, and that's scary because that puts me... First of all, it puts me out of a job. If there's no Constitution, I have nothing to defend.
Right.
You know, what does that do? You're talking about rampant social chaos. You're talking about having a gun just to protect your food from your neighbor. You know, I mean...
I think it would be locally. But see, this would all happen in major metropolitan areas.
Oh, of course, it would happen here.
I think the majority of the United States would
still function.
I don't think they'd be unaffected, but...
I think a lot of, for example, a lot of infrastructure would sort of fall apart.
Well,
but I mean,
think about it. What is our supply of food without the transfer truck?
7 to 10 days.
All right. What happens then?
Well, it depends on how large scale it is, how much of the interstates are tied up, how much interstate commerce is affected.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of it would happen because people would panic. People are going to flee the cities to try to get out into these rural areas, but they don't know where to go.
You also have people, too, who buy up all the gasoline and buy up all the supplies.
And they would start hoarding it.
People like me. No, I'm kidding.
And then you would have
your gasoline.
You would have other people that would say, wait a minute.
$85 a gallon.
Wait a minute, you can't hoard it. You know,
we're going to take it from you, boy.
Yeah, exactly. That's where the things start to unravel.
That may be where you actually do need to maybe have a weapon or something. Then, yeah.
Because things will start to unravel whenever somebody starts hoarding the gas.
Like I said years ago, guys, all you need is a Bible and a gun. You've got it all right there. one in one hand, one in the other.
The Bible to defend yourself, and the Bible to eat when you run out of food.
No, the Bible that tells you.
Boil it up. That leather's real good.
How to live the right way, and the gun to defend your freedoms.
I can't believe Scott's not punching back here, man. No, but I mean, will the Bible to give you spiritual comfort in a time of chaos and strife. You know, I can understand.
And the gun to make sure that those people don't come after you.
Just in case spiritual comfort isn't enough for those people. You have a gun to convince them that's
when they can't convert them. Well, sometime you have to go the other route. Just ask the Islamo-fascists; they'll tell you all about it.
Yeah,
no, I'm sorry. I have to keep harping on that.
The Islamo-fascists. Yeah. I just don't know how plausible it is that the dirty bomb concept is really going to pan out. You know, technologically or logistically. You know, I mean, okay, operating on small cells, yeah. But, I mean, really, how organized are these guys going to run? Maybe they'll get one, maybe they get two, maybe they won't get any. And then you have to think about, will the bombs actually work? You know, and if those bombs are working, is there a team that will actually be able to set them off logistically with their superiors? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
It's pretty low tech,
teamwork,
actually.
Well, teamwork worked out pretty well on September 11th. That's all I got to say.
Well, that's true. But, I mean, you know... I mean, there's just a lot of logistics and a lot of complication that gets involved with it.
15 seconds. This is j.scott, your only JD DJ on the OmniSound Radio 1 network.
This is Trey Lackey coming from Carsville, North Carolina. Small town, we talk about big things. Chuck.
We out!